my boy?
What's going on?
Just getting started here, getting warmed up.
I was just thinking about something. I was wondering, you know when you do something and then you forget that you did it,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, you're in like a state of wonderment. Is that even a word? Wonderment. We're gonna make it a word for this. Okay.
Yeah.
A state of wonderment. I fixed the central air in the tower.
Okay.
And completely forgot that I fixed it. Okay, like I ran new wires and everything just because it was not functional when I got in here. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, yo, I'm so cool. It feels like it's 60 degrees in here. And then I just remembered that I got the damn central air working. And I have it running right now because I didn't feel like being tortured while I was doing this.
You thought it was magic or something.
Yeah. It was a hot one today too.
Jesus.
It was so hot. Oh, brutal.
Let me shut this music off as we're getting started.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone to Splintered Spirits Live.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome.
Guys, I hope you can hear me okay. You might see me a little in like as if I'm in a different realm, but that's just my camera might be doing some weird stuff. It's just, I don't know what to tell you today. It's going to be, we're just going to, as long as you can hear me just fine, that's really what matters. Don't worry about the sync. I really, live things are happening. That's how they go. Hello, everyone.
True. It's very true, especially when it's live.
Especially when it's live,
Yeah. What's going
what
on,
happened
Gary?
this week? This week, look, we dropped a Dan Sturgis episode. That was a fun one. We got some good feedback on that.
A lot of great feedback on that. People were loving Dan,
Yeah, Dan's a
and
pro.
I keep telling everybody,
like
we're going to see him soon. We're linking up soon. We're going to see him on the stream, and who knows? Maybe we'll make it a Thursday, and we can, fall right into another live episode of Splintered Spirits at the same time.
Well, he's got that merchant house that he does investigating, and that's his almost I would say it's safe to say his life's work. And it would be really cool if he lets you in there and you can see what's going on and into that place. That would be really
that'd be
wild.
cool. That'd be
right?
cool.
I mean, that's it's a very different thing for us. It'd be a nice change of scenery for you too. And he's just one of those old school pros,
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, dude. So, in the vein of that kind of a classic paranormal investigator, we have a guest on today. And I like to do these lives as with other influencers. And this guy is I think he, much like you in a way, took advantage of social media early in the paranormal space when there wasn't a lot of people doing it. And it's going to be fun to have him on. I want to talk to him about a lot of things because I look at him and I don't think it's odd to say, but I feel like he's a traditionalist in a lot of ways about how he approaches things. So, I'm excited to get him on. He'll be joining us very soon. How's everybody in the chat doing?
What's going on, chat? I can't read the chat right now. I got it.
That's all right. I'll read the chat. I'll do some chat reading.
Yeah, do some chat reading
for these fine people if they've got anything interesting to say. Right now, they're just saying hello. Hello, hi, yes,
hello,
welcome.
Chat.
There it is.
Hello, chat. Yeah. What's everyone saying?
Everyone's still highs. Trolita,
everyone's cycling in.
These names.
Yeah.
Kirsten, Renee,
Hale. We got a lot of cool people.
A lot of meow. A lot of people with meow names and various cat names. In your chats.
Meow.
They're all cat people.
Yep. You know how we do it. I mean, in general, I think the majority of us are fur baby people. You know what I mean? Like, we love both dogs and cats. I mean, I know I do. I love animals in general.
I'm a dog person for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm low volume. You're telling me you can't hear me that well? How's that? Is that a little better? I can amp it up. Hopefully that helps. Is that better, folks?
I hear you better. Okay. I mean, I was hearing you fine before, but now I hear you.
Okay. All right. All right, all right. That might have
Isn't
helped a
that
little
weird?
bit.
Usually, if either I'm having the issues or you're having the issues.
I know, dude. The lives are tricky for sure.
What's up with the
Uh,
performance issues? You know, it's usually not a
well,
problem for either of us.
I like this service because it's easy, but like for quality, because we're going through the web, it's always iffy,
It's always
right? It's not like there's the other service that everybody uses, which we used to use, the Riverside FM, which we can go back to as this gets bigger because it does give you a better quality because it uploads the video after.
after. Yeah,
Uh, but it's like, man, as we're starting out, this one just looks good and it's easier to use.
yeah.
So,
I mean, it looks good.
yeah, it
Now I'm
looks
reading
good.
the chat. Now I'm reading the chat. What's up? What's up? It
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
good. I'm watching it right now. I'm watching the.
All right, cool. Cool. Hopefully our guest is going to join us any minute.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not having any problems logging in. Um, and then once we get him here, we'll get going. But yeah, okay. Everyone's saying much better. Ooh, great.
Wait.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I was cleaning some graves today. That's what I did for.
Okay. Where were you going? Where were you cleaning them?
No, the same old spot, the same old cemetery where I have permission to do it and whatnot. And I'm usually there, every other day, every day, depending on the weather, of course, because the weather's just been horrible. I mean, it was even raining on me when I was there for a bit. It's just the way it is these days in New York, I guess, with the summer. But
Yeah.
it was interesting. I got a couple interesting responses. I think the mother of a 5-month old uh, headstone I was cleaning came through.
Do you find that you get
Big.
more action? Do you find that you get more action when you're cleaning a child's gravestone versus an older person's gravestone?
No, no. It's
Doesn't
been
matter.
50-50 because I've cleaned both. I've cleaned almost every age that, age groups, if you will. And like, it's 50-50. You never know what's going to come through. You never know, if
Got
anything's
it.
going to come through. I mean, there's been some where it's just been, gibberish, where it's nothing coherent, or may I say, nothing that passed my bar, that
Got it.
made me go, okay. Dude, did you see the video I posted the other day?
Well, hold on.
It
I
was
want to get to that, but our guest is in the waiting room. He
oh,
just signed in.
awesome.
I don't want to keep him waiting too long.
No,
So
let's get him in.
let me tell you about our guest, everybody who's sitting here. I think he can hear me, and hopefully, he's going to let me embarrass him by bragging about him for just a minute.
Go
Our
for
guest
it.
today is Brandon Kramer. All right. Uh, Brandon is a seasoned paranormal investigator with over 2 decades of hands-on experience exploring the unknown. He is a Wisconsin native, and by the way, let me say this. I wouldn't even have to say that. He's got one of those Wisconsin accents that's classic, just like you and I have that Goomba New York accent. Like you're gonna know where
Yep.
this cat's from right away.
Yep.
He's worn many hats, right? He's an investigator, a ghost hunter, an educator, and a trainer. And he really enjoys coaching others. And I'm hoping to get some information out of him because I need the coaching for sure, because I don't know shit about anything, which is a fact, right? Um, Over the years, Brandon has uncovered compelling evidence of unexplained phenomena and shared his insights as a guest on numerous podcasts, including his own Paranormal Watchtower, which you guys can check out on YouTube. Uh, but for most, he's known as Real Ghost Hunter One, which you can find. And dude, he's got over 450,000 TikTok followers. So let me bring him in right now and add him to the stream.
Oh, there
Brandon,
we
how
are.
are you?
Brandon,
How's it going?
good
Good,
man.
good.
Good.
How
Now
are
I
You hear
can
you?
see
us?
all of us.
Cool. Can you see it? Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. No problem. No problem. I was actually watching on here. I'm
Right.
like waiting to come in. I'm like, ah. So, John, I haven't seen you for a long time.
Yeah, it's
Missed
been a
watching a
minute.
lot of the lives. I got questions for you if we have time for that.
Yeah.
Gary, it's nice to meet you face to face.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
So thanks for having
Have
me
a,
in. I'm excited.
yeah.
I love doing these. So we can
Cool.
just jump right into it whenever you're ready.
Cool. Yeah, I would love to
Yeah.
jump. So, Brandon, I always start every question. The first question I ask all of our guests is this one because what we try to do on Splintered Spirits, it's really about spirit communication and what are spirits. So I want to ask you,
Mhm.
What do you think spirits are and what happens when we die?
Okay. Well, and that has been a big topic as of lately, as in the last year. There's a lot of controversy. People think they're just demons and this and that. But I am old school. I believe that they are spirits of our past. I call them past personalities. That's kind of what I call them. And instead of ghosts or spirits, I just call them past personalities. That covers the whole gamut of things. But they're definitely, in my opinion, used to be human. So they're souls, spirits.
Okay. But you
I
say it's soul when you say souls, do you say that in like a religious sense or do you say is there
no.
another like what do you think it is?
Well, and that's a good question, but to me, when you're talking about what we're talking to, what we're communicating with, it is it isn't a religious thing. It's a spiritual thing, and I know how hokey that sounds, but
It's all
it's
right.
definitely because no matter what your religion is, there's an afterlife, whether you want to admit it or not. So everybody has their own words that they want to call it, but it's all the same thing. We all go to the same place. We all go to, I shouldn't say we go to the same place. We go through the same steps, and end up going wherever we need to go and do whatever we need to do. Um, but to say that it's religious based, no, no, it's not religious based. It's spiritual based. It's just you are what you are. There's no way to change that. You can't label it as a religion. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Now when you got into this,
Hmm.
so it's like did you have um mentors or like how did you start? I mean, I we'll get into like how you really started and what turned you
Yeah,
on to it, but like
yeah,
how did you get I saw that you were giving tours in haunted locations and
yep,
you'll be a private practice where someone calls you, but like
yep.
what taught you your methodology? Because I look at you, man, and I see like a guy who has a very and some of the interviews I've seen of you and the videos I watch, you clearly have a methodology, and I kind of want to know how did you come to
Well,
learn that for
a lot
yourself?
of it, is through personal experience, and that's how everybody should grow, in my opinion. Yes, you can take hints from other people, and I have. And I'm not one of those guys who's going to come out and say, "Whoa, it was I watched Ghost Adventures and that made me do it." Although it kind of did, I will admit. There's a little
Sure.
bit of truth to that. There's I like to think as myself is because I used to like when I first started on TikTok, people used to call me the Zach Bagans of TikTok. That's before he had a bad rep. You know what I'm saying? But just because I dress like him doesn't mean I'm just like him. So,
No, no, I
anyways,
get
but
it.
but there's certain things that you should take from Zach, from like Jason Hawes is a huge been a big influence on me. I've talked to him several times, um, and I like to model my stuff off of the spiritual responses that I get, and I learn from that. That's the most. But yes, there are people out there. I've talked to priests, I've talked to mediums, I've talked to I've learned a lot from going out and not interviewing, but just having normal conversations with a lot of these people, a lot of people that you probably know. But to say,
Dude, I don't know shit, by the way. You tell me. Like I don't know anybody.
well,
But
and
even John knows.
I'm
Like
trying
it's a
really
fact.
hard. I'm trying really hard not to name drop because it's tough for me. you know,
Name
but
drop, bro. It's fine.
well,
We don't want to badmouth anybody, but let's name drop. If it's
I
like
will
You
somebody
can,
say
who
it.
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
if it's somebody who
definitely.
means something to you that you like value, I
Please
want to hear
do.
who that
Yeah.
is.
Okay, well, okay. I had the luck and opportunity to meet and hang out for many times with the guys from Ghost Hunters. You
Mhm.
got Jason Hawes, you got Dave Tango, Steve. I can't pronounce his last name, but they're great guys and they're really down to earth and they don't bullshit anybody. They don't try to make it out to be something it's not, and that's something that I admire. Whether you have been doing it for 30 years or if you just started a month ago, if you are willing to say, hey, you know what, there's a slight possibility that that was not paranormal, so I'm not going to push it that it was paranormal. That means to me, when I see somebody do that, they jump up in respect for me.
Gotcha.
That's what I
Gotcha.
used to love about those old the old Ghost Hunter, man, the old Ghost Hunter shows. Dude,
Yeah.
some of those episodes were just so there was nothing going on.
Right.
There was no production into it. It was raw,
Yeah.
and it was shown to the audience as raw. It was great.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
another thing. When you watch a live, if you see somebody who generally has a lot of stuff happen, or they have a lot of videos that have a lot of things, activity, I should say, and then you go watch them live and there's nothing happening, to me, that's validation, because they're not faking it like most people do. I mean, you can scroll TikTok anytime, day or night, and see a paranormal group that's faking stuff. It's
Mhm.
so obvious to somebody like me, so obvious. But it, it just means a lot when people actually take it seriously. I mean, I'm all for joking around and doing that, because spirits like that too. They like to goof around too. So
Yeah, they do.
you got to have a little bit of that, but you also don't want to just make a mockery of the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know.
So Brandon, when you get someone calls you and they
Yes.
say, "Hey, I got a ghost in my house. I need you to come in and do an investigation," right? And I
Yes.
don't know if you do this actively still anymore.
Yeah.
I wrote down, I'm taking a guess. What's the first thing you do when you go to that house? Like,
Well,
what's the first thing you check? Someone calls you up, Brandon, I got a ghost in my house. And then you're
there's
like, all right. I wrote down three things that I bet, and I want to see if
okay.
they match up. I'm gonna show you.
There's a whole process that happens before we get to that. But if you're talking
Yeah.
about when I first walk in the door, first thing I walk in is get their story. I get their
Mhm.
story. I find out where these happened in the home, and then, okay, I might take some notes, or one of my people that are with me are going to take notes, and then what I'll do is I'll take a baseline reading through the whole house. We'll go through with, I'm not going to go through the list of paranormal equipment that we use, but
Yeah.
we go through and we basically take readings of all the electromagnetic fields in the house, and just everything in the whole area. And then that way we have somewhere to go off of. After I listen to their story, I do the tour, then we start setting up, the cameras and things like that. And then going to setting up recorders. There's a lot of process. There's a lot of stuff that we do. It takes a while. It's way more complicated than just going to a haunted location and throwing a REM pod on the ground and hollering, "Who's here with me?" You know what I
All right.
mean?
Well, I
There's
was
way
totally
more.
wrong, by the way. I was totally wrong. Here's what I thought for sure Brandon does. He tells them to check their plumbing, electrical, and pests
Oh,
before he wastes his time.
that happens before I even get there. That's
Okay.
before I even get there. I ask if there's pets, if there's children. Here's a nightmare scenario. You get there and you're in a third floor apartment, and they have people above them and below them, and on the sides. So there's so much
Right.
garbaging up your evidence that you're like,
Mhm.
it is really tough to come up with any solid evidence from there. But I've done it. I've done it to the
Yeah.
point where there was a lady and her daughter that would not stay in their house because they were getting scared in their bathroom. And after a couple nights, it actually took a few nights, we came to the conclusion that it was some Carol. And I asked her who Carol was, and here it was her mom.
Wow.
Didn't know any of that information until after we were done. And there's a lot more to it, but yeah. So the
There's
private
always a spirit in
investigations.
the damn bathroom, you know?
I know. Well, I mean,
It's
if you're a ghost, are you going to watch people shower? I mean, you
That's
know,
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess that's true.
you
That's
know.
true. They're
it's
probably a
true.
little bit creepy. What, so
Yeah.
Brent, you said you have people. So do you like working with a team? Do you find value in that, or do
Yes,
you like going
yes,
with yourself?
absolutely. If I'm doing a private investigation, and I have two different answers. If I'm doing a private investigation for someone who needs help in their home, I absolutely bring a team. Um, if I'm doing something, and I'll explain that a little bit too. But when I'm doing like a haunted location, I'm going to an insane asylum or something like that, I prefer to be either by myself or with one other person. And the reason that is because I learned that when we went to the Farrar. I held an event at Farrar back in 2021, and we had like 10 to 12 TikTok people there. And I learned from that and going to ISS or whatever the heck it's called in Indiana, um, that you have too many cooks in the kitchen and everybody wants to be the host. So you're kind of fighting over camera time instead of doing an investigation.
That's funny.
You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
wants
man.
to be the star of
We
the
want
show.
those likes. We want
Yep.
those
Yeah,
likes, fellas.
everybody wants to be the star, and I get it, I understand, but it really interferes with the investigation itself. So
Brandon, speaking of the Farrer house, I'm going to pronounce it the Farrer
Farrar,
School for our
Farrar,
school.
yeah,
Now I've heard you talk about this before. Have you ever tried to figure out what that smoke monster was, or like done deeper
yes.
investigation into like
Um,
what is that entity, or what do you think it is?
well, it is. We originally thought that it was the principal. Those of you who don't know the story, real
Of
quick,
course, it's a principal. Of course, it's the principal.
Hold
right,
on, hold
right.
on. Brandon, is this the floating head story?
No, that's
No,
a
no,
different one.
that's a
Well, I want
different
to
one.
ask you about that later.
Yeah, that's
Dude,
That's a great
like
one. I remember you telling me that.
that floating
I've got the
head
picture of
one
that.
is that's like my title story right there.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
got the
You got
picture of
to
that,
talk
Brandon.
about. Tell this one
If it's
first.
Yeah, but
And then-
we're all talking over each other. Brandon, go on. Tell us about this.
I'm gonna make it real short. We went to Farrar years ago, and I was with like the first team I was ever on. It was like one of the bigger teams. Anyway, we went there, and this was way before I went solo. We went there and we did an investigation. Half the team went to sleep, and half of us were up there doing a spirit box session. And I think this was right after. I think it was 2015 ish, in that ballpark, when the SB11 first came out. Like when it first came out, the spirit box, the SB11. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so we were doing a sesh up there, and one girl, she was doing it, and she was holding it, and she started to get kind of, feel kind of icky and scared and whatever. And we just kind of blew it off as, well, you're a girl, blah blah blah, you're fine, you know. It was 2015. You could talk like that.
It was different then. It was different
was
then.
a different
Ghost
time.
Hunters. It was
It was
before,
10 years ago. This is a different time.
We were
You
far
can't
more
talk like that
sexist
today.
as ghost hunters then.
Yeah, you can't talk like that today. But anyway, but then through the spirit boxes, we started getting warnings, and it started to get increasingly scary, to the point where they were telling us to hide, run and hide, and he's coming. And it said a couple names. It's been a long time. I don't remember exactly what the names are. But then all of a sudden, the back door flew open. Now, keep in mind, there's 8 people in there, 6 to 8 people in there, and the back door flew open to the auditorium. Everybody else is sleeping. Flew open, and this black mass came in that you could see in the dark. That's how dark this thing was. It was dark, and it kept getting bigger and bigger and coming closer. And as it got closer, it kept getting bigger and bigger. And we heard these roaring noises, like this. It was super scary. Like, you'd think it was a movie the way I'm explaining it, but it's super scary. Scared the hell out of all of us. Everybody took off running. At this point, the girl that was doing the session fell down in the fetal position and was totally ugly crying, just bawling her eyes out. Couldn't take it, scared to death, saw the thing, couldn't not handle it. Everybody took off. This thing is getting closer. By this time, it's about 10 feet away from us already. I picked her up, threw her over my shoulder, ran out the stairs, or out the hall, down the stairs. This is on the 3rd floor. Went down 2 flights of stairs, went outside. We all hung out there. Some people left, refusing to come back. And we waited out there for a good hour. I was shooken up. And then we ended up going back in 21, October of 21. It was the 8th through the 11th, I think. And there was Jen from Extreme Screams. She saw the dark entity that I saw, and she told me about it. And like an idiot, Ray from Nebraska Paranormal, who might be on the show eventually, he was recording me running out after it like a lunatic, trying to get at this thing that, well, I had like 4 or 5 years to build up courage to, go after this thing, and completely lost my mind and ran out towards it. Like, I don't know what I was going to do when I got to it, but,
for science.
Yeah. So
Right.
that's what happened there. We did not. I didn't even get to see it when we went back. As far as what
What
we
do you
think it
think it
was,
was? Oh yeah,
I
sorry. Oh no, go ahead.
I think it was. I don't think it was the principle like everybody thinks it is. I think it's something darker that holds spirits there. I think it's something that's guarding and preventing some of the spirits there from leaving.
Do you think did you ever look at the history of this school? Like, did horrible things happen there? Did
Um,
like kids die in a fire or some shit? Or
no,
like, what's
I try not to do that until after I get some solid evidence so that I can compare to it. I'm not one of those who does a lot of research before I get there. As far as details, because I like to pick them up on my own because I don't want to pre-program that in my head. So when I'm
okay?
listening to a spirit box, I know, let's say Peter was the principal, and because then you're gonna hear Peter. You know what I'm saying? When
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
listening to it.
Yeah.
Sure, that
So
makes sense.
I try
Yeah, it's
not
the
to do
same
that.
thing. It's like who's to say that Peter that's coming through is the same Peter that's the principal?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know?
So no, to answer your question, no, I did not. And I kind of didn't want to because that's one of the places that I hold dear to my heart. Um, and unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever get to go back because now it's owned by Sam and Colby, and they changed everything. So
Oh, wow.
the you used to be able to go in there for $300, and now it's over 15. So yeah, it's a completely different ball.
Clever.
Let me ask you
Yeah.
something.
Clever
It's
guys.
over 15. Are there people there? Are you allowed to go, by yourself? Like, is it one of those things where there's always going to be living people in the building and
Not anymore. The people that used to own it, the woman's name was Nancy. Her and her husband and her dog used to live there, and they were there day in and day out. Because we would have to stop our investigations for half an hour or whatever, so she could let the dog out before they went to bed.
Of
So
course.
they were always there. Then they had it up for sale for a long time. I actually tried to buy it, but price tag was a little bit too high for me.
Sure.
Um, and I did talk to Nancy and try to work negotiations, but she had another offer that was better. And anyway, long story short, it ended up going to some bank, bought it, and then Sam and Colby bought it. So,
Right.
so they own it
Right, right,
now.
right.
So, I mean, hey, if you want to meet Sam and Colby, they might be there if you want to go there.
What so okay, that's a fascinating story of something you've done and you like and it sounds like you were
Mhm.
doing that early on as you were working with early teams.
Yeah.
Now with the experience you've had, if you went to your dream location of an Alcatraz, how would you start that up? How would you start? Like who would you bring with you? What would be the move?
I've got,
What are you looking for? What are you hoping to see? What are you hoping to get? And how would you do it, man? To make
okay,
it like,
in
I'm gonna get my dream stuff.
a dream scenario would be
Yeah.
to have Jason Hawes, Steve, all the guys from Ghost Hunters come with me. Even and that we're talking dream, right? It's my dream.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna go with
Yes,
it.
it's your dream, dude. This is
Um,
your bucket list thing. What how
I'm
do you
not.
want
I should be
how do you
looking
want
at
to
the chat
capture it?
right now. I don't know who's talking shit or not, but anyways, they're getting away with it because I can't see nothing.
Don't
Um,
worry about it. Don't worry about the chat.
so
yeah?
anyway, yeah, it would be the Ghost Hunters, myself, and a few choice others that are unfamous, and I hope they stay unfamous because they're so good. And I don't know how they're not famous yet, but bless their heart, they're awesome.
Right.
We would all go there, and everything would be recorded. The whole thing would be like a big documentary. That would be that would be my dream to make an
Okay.
Alcatraz documentary. Um, because I do know some of the stories from there. And who didn't play Call of Duty Alcatraz? I mean, come on, I already know the layout. You kidding me? I played that for 50 hours a week. You kidding me? That was
Yeah.
great.
Right. Right,
So
right, right.
so I already know the layout of the place. But
And who's on the team? Is like with these people on the team, are they have the same skill set as you, or do you bring people with specialties? Is it like the A team, right? You got your demolitions expert,
absolutely.
you got your like what is
This
that? What does that look like?
Yeah, this goes back to the question where you said, do you want to go as a team? When I'm
Yeah.
building a team, I'm very particular.
Yeah,
I'm
let's hear it.
probably one of the pickiest guys ever. I test anybody that says they're a medium they go through the gamut of tests to see how good they are. and they have to be a certain quality to be on the team. I've had some amazing. I was blessed to have some amazing mediums through the years, and they're awesome. It is very hard to compete. You really need to have a medium on there because they can validate what you get through your equipment. So if you get something through your equipment, they can validate and say, yes, that person is right over there. They're looking at you. They're saying this and this and this. And then immediately after that, you get the same message through the spirit box. You can't top that. That is the best. That is rock solid, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Um,
Okay. So you got a medium.
yep, you got a
You got
medium.
like a tech person,
Yep,
like that's really good at that, right?
yep, you got to have a tech person, somebody that knows how to hook everything up, how to do that, how to watch. You got to have somebody that's watching the cameras who knows what to look for. You got to
Right.
have somebody that doesn't, they're not on the walkie-talkie telling you every time a piece of dust flies by, telling you there's an orb by you. You don't want that. You want somebody that knows what to look for and knows how to. And this is all stuff that I used to go through when I did the training. Just stuff to not be alarmed at and whatever. But so you need a tech
Mm-hmm.
guy, you need a medium, you need somebody, and you can be one of those people. You know what I mean? You don't have to
Yeah.
hire out or do anything. If you want to do it, you can do that. But the problem is you can't watch the cameras and do the investigation at the same time.
Right.
So you got to have somebody
Right.
do that. Um, let's see, what else do you need? That's basically it. But like when you're doing a private investigation, you want to do it in two different ways where the people that live there are gone, and then you want to do more when they're there because it's a completely different investigation, especially if you're
Why does it make it different when they're there? What makes it different with them being there versus when they're not? If it's the spirits that
if
are
the
doing the
if the
shit.
person is not there, you are investigating the location. Okay? If the
Okay.
people are there, you're investigating them and their attachment to the spirit.
I see. Okay.
Because
Okay.
if they have something that's attached to them, if they leave the house, the entity will leave the house. You see
I
where
see.
I'm going?
Okay. Yeah,
So
I
if
do.
they're
Yeah.
gone,
Kind of the difference between a house and a home. You know,
kind of, yeah,
the home. The home. What's the home? The people in it.
yep, yep. So
Okay.
that's how I look at it.
All
And
right.
and
No,
and I
I
do
like it.
want to say I don't want to say because some people call themselves a pro or whatever, an expert. I don't consider myself an expert. I don't believe there is such a thing in this field. I want to make that
I say it
perfectly
all the
clear.
time. I agree with them
Um,
Yeah, says all the
100%.
time.
I don't think there's any way that you can be a professional until you make that journey, till you go through it. But that's I just wanted to make that clear. I don't want people thinking, oh, this guy thinks he knows
Well, it's
everything.
cool,
No.
but look, it's like I look. I've been diving into this thing for a few months, and I've been talking to people who study it from UVA to the psychical research to the Forever Family Foundation to Arthur Finley School, and like all these people who study, right? And really, what it comes to, and all of them who they all are open minded because they all are like, what are we talking about? We don't know what it is. Here's what we
Right.
think it is based on our years of experience. And
Yeah.
that's how you sort of could tell the difference between somebody who is and who isn't.
Right.
Um, in my opinion, right? So, like, just as what I'm learning and what they're saying, so they can only rely on the evidence they've gathered from some of these people have been doing this shit for like 40 years, and
Right.
they have thousands of case files. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, this is what I have discovered and seen, and here's how I break down things. And I enjoy that, and you got to respect it. And that's what they've seen. I
Right.
wasn't there, so I don't know what it is, right? So, Brandon, you talk a lot about the tech of it all, and I feel like is that important to you, the tech, and how has it advanced in your years of doing this?
Well, when I first started, there wasn't much to it other than your voice recorder, EMF detector, and your basic little, before the official REM pod came out. I mean, I don't know if John knows about these, but they used to have just little boxes with a little
Look,
antenna that would real
Anna, yeah,
flimsy, and they would
yep.
break every time you drop them, so you're
And,
constantly buying new ones.
dude, we
But
would modify Thurmans. The musical instrument.
Theremins,
you
yeah.
know, back in the day. And those things were so flimsy. Sometimes they'd break when we were bringing them to a location.
Sure,
You
sure.
know, it's yeah.
Yeah, so the advancement in technology is phenomenal. And
Big
and
time.
the toys that they have now, and I call them toys, don't take that as disrespect, but they're
No, that's all right.
toys. Um,
We're big kids, and they're the toys.
I'm
yeah,
gonna say something about all tech that will be disrespectful to many. But go ahead. I'll tell you what my feelings are. I'm gonna say.
But you know, when it comes to there, you know, there's a big discussion as far as the app situation and this and that, and I'm not against apps. I kind of I like them. As long as you're not believing every word that comes out of it, you know, I'm totally okay with it. We all have our own journey. We all have our own process of learning. So if the apps is your thing and you're digging it, fucking go for it. You know what I mean?
Look, here's how I look at it. This is, and again, take it from this noob, right, who doesn't know anything. But it's like I look at things like, and I was telling this to John. I was like, look, if how do I start this? I'll try to make it not too long. But it's if a carpenter messes up your renovation, you're not going to blame his hammer, right? You're going to
Right,
blame him.
right.
So that's the first thing, right? So I look at all of the gadgets and the tech, from witch sticks, which are metal hanger rod, those dowsing rods, to that what's that ovulus thing that you have that's like $600, John. That thing, it's like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
look at it all as tools because here's the thing, fellas, I'm gonna tell you this straight up. If we actually created a device or an app that can talk to the dead, the world as we know it would be changed forever. It would be bigger than Apple and Nike. It's
Right,
not.
right.
But I do believe in people, and I believe in intuition. We all have it, right? We all have a vibe, right? Like you walk in, if a guy walks into a bar, John, I've heard you say this too. Guy walks in a bar, gives you a bad vibe, right? Or you meet somebody you like, you got a good connection. There's something there, right? And
Mhm.
much like, everyone could throw a baseball, but there's only a handful of us that could, or a handful of, not us, I'm not one of them, that could throw it at 98 miles an hour, right? I think intuition is that same thing where
Mm.
there are a handful of people who it's heightened, and maybe that is what mediumship is, right? And they're connecting to something on a different level. So with that, it's like, look, I turn on these apps, I get dick. I get the same old thing that everybody gets of leave, get out,
Right, right,
why am I here?
right,
It's all that stuff. But
right,
I've watched John do it,
right.
and it's been,
And
I get
John
chills
gets,
when I think about it.
hey, and
It's
I'm
specific. So, and he doesn't like it when I say it, Brandon, but it's like, I'm like, dude, you're like some kind of medium.
I'm
And
not a
he makes
medium,
the dad
bro.
joke. He
no.
makes the dad joke of he's a double
If I
XL.
can
And
if I
it's
can
like,
touch on that just for a second, what people I like to include myself in that category as
you
someone who
should,
has
because I've seen some stuff of yours, and it's crazy what
as
you've got.
what I like to call it is like we're a paranormal beacon. I've been saying that for about I don't know 7 years now, but it's the ghosts or spirits, if you will, see us as like a lost ship looking for land, and they see the beacon, the light beacon, and they come towards it, you know, because they know that that beacon is someone who is willing to listen to them, willing to hear them out, willing to give them any help that they can. And here's one tip that I really like to stress to people that don't know me, um, and that just go out and do this, is when you're doing a paranormal investigation, you're not just helping the family. You can help the family by helping the spirit get what it wants, what it needs, where it needs to go. Because if you can do that, if you can help the spirit's not going to be there to harm the family, to scare the family. They're going to be gone.
Yeah.
And
That's
the
an
family
interesting
doesn't have to
perspective
worry
on it.
about it.
That's an
Huh?
interesting perspective. John, how does that fit into you? Have a slightly different perspective on this. How would you compare your
Well, first off, my perspective is only different because I don't even view myself as an investigator or a hunter. I view myself as a documenter. So I actually, and people have judged me on this plenty of times. I've been in situations where I've refused to help the spirit, where I'm just like, all right, I'm just here to listen, hear what's going on with the spirit, what it's doing, especially if it's in a place where no one's getting hurt or no one's getting bothered.
Mhm.
There was, I don't know, last summer, I believe it was, where that circumstance changed for me, where it went from documentation to actually having to get proactively involved. and that's where a place I go, we call the pre-war burial ground. We came across an entity that the spirits called the smoke. And interesting enough, in the woods, there's a little clearing and people walk their dogs. It's like a nice little dog walking area around the burial ground. And there's like a little campfire set up. People that hang out back there were getting harassed by something they nicknamed the creature. And this thing, these aren't paranormal people. These aren't people who even think about this stuff. These are normal, everyday people, that, have no interest in the paranormal whatsoever. And they're actually being harassed by an entity back there. So I actually had to get proactively involved because they came to me right on the stream and they're like, hey, man, you're the guy that talks to the spirits. This is what's going on to us here. And I'm like, well, it's funny because we're dealing with this entity that the spirits are calling the smoke. So I actually had to get involved and actually dig into it and, try to help it. So it was interesting. But I do listen, if you're going for investigations and hunting and a family contacts you, you want to help them.
Right.
You definitely do. That is something you want to do 100%.
Right.
So
I'm not saying if they have something evil, you're trying to give it what it wants. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
If it's something evil, you're looking to cut the ties with the family at the bare minimum, and at best case scenario is to shun it from the house. Best case scenario, if you can.
If you
a lot of times
fail.
You can't do it, and you have to seek outside help.
It's true.
Brandon, have you ever, I heard you tell a story about like the first experience you had, and as you're saying, you like to think you're one of those people. I believe that you probably are, one of those people who is a little more intuitive than most. And when it comes to the story of Philip for you, as that when you were a kid, and now have you ever gone back and to try to figure out
I haven't gone back.
Philip was?
Haven't gone back to the house. I have found out through some further research that Philip was I'm trying to get the story right now. Philip was a guy that was associated with the house apparently, and I can't remember if he owned the house before them, but I didn't find this out until like last year. Like I just found this out. I thought Philip was just a name that my step grandfather made up to scare the kids into being good. You know what I mean? Don't do that or Philip's gonna get you. He would say that all the time.
How the hell did he know Philip? That's the question.
And like, that's a good question. I think he made it up. I really think this up until last year, I thought he made it up, and it was just a scary story. It was a boogeyman story to keep the kids in line. But when I was a kid, there was something there, and I kept calling him Philip.
I see. Interesting.
So he may have adopted that persona. He's like, fine, I'll be Philip. Talk to me. I'll call me whatever you want, as long as you're willing to, if you can hear me.
Real quick, I want to interject to what he's saying. And I love the fact that you use those words, adopt the persona, because spirits do that all the time. But in that scenario, another person would turn around and be like, oh, maybe it was something that got created. Well, I think we touched on this on one of the with our past guests, where an entity gets created,
have you heard of the
for whatever
phrase?
Reasons.
Have you heard of the
what
phrase
was it called?
An
yes.
egregore.
An egregore.
So so Brandon, where John and I are from, Westchester, New York, there's it's a wildly haunted place. But Washington Irving made one of the counties very famous at Sleepy Hollow, right? So you have probably the only true American monster is the headless horseman. That's right from where we grew up. Okay. Now, a consciousness of the one of the things about the headless horseman is, did Washington Irving get his inspiration from a supposedly true story of a Hessian German soldier getting his head blown off locally in White Plains, which is where John frequents a lot? Or is it an egregore, which is the collective consciousness, because the story spread, has built this manifestation of this spirit, right? Which is like
Mothman.
Like the Mothman. So it's really interesting, all these different perspectives. But I like how Brandon literally went to exactly what I would think also is, you know what? There was something already there. And it's like, oh, Philip, I can be Philip,
Yeah.
an easier way to,
Right.
Now,
get in there.
you
And
said you
this
heard
is
there
when you
was a
were a
Philip.
child, correct?
Yes, I was 7
Yeah.
years old.
Wow. 7
Yes,
years old.
and
Wow. Okay.
listen, we all know that children and old people are the worst when it comes to being scary. If the movies have taught us nothing,
Right.
children and the elderly are
Right.
straight up the worst. But
Yeah.
it's so. But you looked up. You said you looked into this, and you think there was a Philip associated with this property
Yeah,
somewhere.
yep. And I come to find out that there was actually, and again, I just found this out last year, that and I'm well into my late 40s. Okay. But
I'm older, buddy, so it's all right.
so this is quite some time ago when I was 7. But anyway, I found out that there's actually a supposedly a rocking chair that was owned by Philip that is still in the house or in some sort of property that was associated with um well, my, I guess you would call them step grandparents that used to live there. So
Yeah,
somewhere there
rocking
was this
chairs are by
rocking
far the scariest chair. Is there a
yeah.
scarier chair than the rocking chair? It moves by itself. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
everybody knows it, and of
So
course they kept it.
so rumor has it that that is Philip's chair. I've been trying to get it now since I heard about it, but let's just say it's in possession by the person that possesses it is not willing to let it go. So I have to wait.
The
So it
wait.
looks like you like collecting this stuff. I'm looking behind you. So that chair,
I
you
was
have it,
just about to get into
and
that. I want to
and
switch
he's
this
got a
up real
bunch.
quick.
Yeah, I
I
mean, I
want
want
to
to talk
switch
about
this
all
whole
this
thing up
stuff.
real quick.
Yeah.
All right,
What's
listen,
going on? So tell me about your haunted
Brandon,
items and crystals and all that stuff. What's going on there?
tell us about the auctions, man.
Oh, well,
Tell
Yes.
us
all
about
right.
the auctions because this
All right.
dude's got some cool stuff that he auctions
And
off.
a couple,
yes,
let's see.
real quick, Brandon, let me just tell the people, right? If you want
Yeah.
to find Brandon, he's got his handle up there at Real Ghost Hunter One, but he's going to start selling his stuff. You know, he's got crystals for sale and other stuff at Real Ghost Hunter 1.0 on TikTok. That's where his shop is.
That's where I'm
Real
trying to do
Ghost Hunter 1.0 is where he's going to move everything to. Okay. But yes, Brad, tell us about this stuff that you're selling. I've even seen your
All right.
co-host Ray opening boxes of cool ass skulls and shit. I
Yeah.
think it is cool, but
So
is there
I
a
do.
belief system behind what you do? Let's hear it.
Absolutely there is. Absolutely there is. Now, all right, if we're talking about the sales part of what I do, that started off with strictly oddities. Oddities, quote. I used to sell things that I would get off of haunted eBay just to see. I would buy mystery boxes and open it up
What did he say?
and see, what is there anything to it? Is there, I would test it out, and there's been a few shocking things that I've gotten. So it's not
Wow.
all, hokey crap. I mean, there is some stuff that
Sure.
is out there. Um, so it used to be just straight oddities, and I did that for a long time. And it was like once every 2 weeks, I would, sell off a couple things here and there. And then people started, and then it kind of took a turn when people would see that I had a crystal collection and they'd want to see it. Well, that turned into, hey, can I buy that from you? And I'm like, whatever. And then they keep harping on me. And eventually I'd sell a couple pieces. Well, then word got out that I was doing that too. So fast forward to now, every Friday night, I'm selling tons of crystals. I got tons of them. I mean,
What is it? What's the deal with crystals?
well,
What's the thing?
it started off with the whole spiritual thing. I was deep into protection and cleansing and all of that. And it goes hand in hand with paranormal investigation. You should have protection. You should have ways to cleanse yourself and to get rid of some of that, so your paranormal hangover isn't as bad afterwards. And if you don't know what that is, I can go into that too. But it's basically your body recovering from all the stress from the investigation and any influences that may or may not have happened during. So your body is trying to make up for that the
So a
following day.
crystal is like a ghost condom.
Yeah, well,
to keep you from getting spiritual.
Now, I'm
aids.
not sure I'm doing the same thing with ghosts that you are, but
Not yet. It's not cheating if it's with the ghosts, Brandon. By the way, but go
well,
ahead. No. Okay, so there's a belief system, right, in
yeah,
spirituality with crystals that it is a protective thing. That's what like. Is it? Do different crystals do different things? Is it the bigger
yeah.
the crystal, the better the protect? Is that what
Not
you're?
not
Is that the
necessarily.
idea?
Not necessarily.
No.
Bigger isn't always better when it comes to crystals. Um, a smaller one will do the same thing as a larger one. It all depends on how paranoid you are, and what you think you need. To be brutally honest, a lot of people buy crystals just because they're pretty. So I gotta have that too. I gotta have the pretty
Right.
stuff just so if they come in, they want the pretty stuff. For instance, I got stuff that's
Right.
not so pretty. Here's something right here. Here's a garnet Medusa. It's just just
Sure.
I mean, I got
It's
a
just
little bit of
it's
everything.
just cool.
Yeah,
Right. It's
Yeah.
just cool stuff.
yeah.
Now, are those dolls haunted behind you?
It depends on which ones you're talking about. But I do have. This is Adam. If you don't know Adam, if you've watched any of my, if you let's see, my most viral video, I think it's my most viral video, was where I was going through this portal box and running the SB11 through it, and I was asking. I played a song. I played "Tiptoe Through the Tulips" for Adam.
Was that
And
in the attic?
no, that I
No?
did it in the attic, but this was down here, right where we're sitting, right here.
Okay.
This is where it happened here, and he said, no, I'm sorry, that wasn't here. Where was that? Anyways, it was with that portal box. Adam was there, and he said, "Fuck that, fuck this," and I don't know if I can say that on your podcast.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you're good.
That's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine.
but he kept saying "fuck this" and "fuck that" and it went
We're
all
live,
crazy.
dude. So it's
As a
it
matter
is
of
what it is.
fact, let me just put this out there because and it was so good that apparently Sam and Colby got a hold of it and used it on their YouTube channel. And of course, didn't even tag me in it, but whatever. I'm still a little bitter about that, but whatever.
I would be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they get
We'll
paid
find out
big
how
money
many
for that.
video views that has and go get your residuals, boy.
Go
Right?
get
You know
those
what I'm
residuals.
saying?
But whatever, you can't argue with them. It is they're too big now. So, but anyway, so yeah, so
And
Adam,
so are
I
their
do believe was
wallets.
haunted. This is not. This was a gift. This Chucky was a gift from my kids for one of my birthdays.
That's great.
So yeah,
That's
You know
awesome.
what's funny? But what's funny is too. The scariest story I heard Brandon tell was about teaching his teenage daughter how to drive. As you know, I just did the same thing, John, and it was like,
yeah.
it's totally visceral, the biggest fear you can ever have.
The biggest
Yeah.
fear, huh?
Yeah.
Brandon, we've got a question in the chat that speaks to these items here. I'm gonna ask it, and we can show it. But it says my question for Brandon is: when you get an attached item, how do you know for sure that when they say their name from the attachment, it's really who you're speaking to, like your doll Adam? She probably watches you.
Right. But that's a
Does that make
great point.
sense?
Yes, absolutely. I know exactly what they're talking about. Thank you for whoever asked that. That was a great question.
Karina.
Thank you, Karina. When you are, and it goes to something that I've been talking about for a long time. Someone gets a haunted doll. How do you prove that it's actually the doll that's talking? How do you prove that it's not just some random entity that happened to scroll or follow you through the door that day? You don't know. You don't know if it's actual doll. That's just because you have the camera on that doll doesn't mean that that's the one that's talking. You know what I mean? Because
Sure.
I believe that we all have attachments. I believe that at all times we have any number of attachments because I feel that the spirits that are around us do miss what they had when they were alive, and they want to feel that again. They want to experience that again. So
I use that in my warning all the time, Brandon. All the time, dude.
If you're doing something, you're cooking out on the grill, they love that. They love that. They're gonna be there watching you, hanging out with you. That doesn't mean that they're gonna haunt you. That doesn't mean they're gonna pull your hair when you're sleeping. That doesn't mean they're gonna choke you. It just means they're watching you. Let it go. Who cares? They're gonna leave when they get bored. They come and go. We all have attachments from time to time, whether we want to admit it or not. So back to Adam being haunted. I firmly believe I am like 100% that there is something attached to the doll. I'm not saying there's something in the doll, and I think there's a big difference there.
Big
Um,
difference.
I don't
Wow.
believe
Okay.
that there's anything that's trapped, quote unquote, trapped in the doll. I think it's something that liked it at one point, probably from Germany, because that's where he came from. And something that just traveled with him, with it.
Well, you've also done multiple sessions.
Right,
It's
and
not like
I've
you have
done
like one or two
oh,
sessions. You've done multiple
hundreds,
sessions with, yeah.
hundreds, and the word Adam keeps coming through. The same voice keeps coming through. You know, you got the same voice, the same name, the same
Mhm.
asshole attitude. Because
Mhm.
he's. I'm sorry, dude, but you're kind of a prick, and that's why we get along. That's why we get along. You know, because
Yeah.
I can be a prick too, and I'm the first to admit it. When someone is disrespectful, I don't sugarcoat anything to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so after repeated the same responses over years, I've had him for what, 4 to 5 years now, and when it's always the same, that means that there's something there. There's something there
Yeah.
for
Personality. When there's
We've got
personality
about
there.
we've got about 5 minutes left, and in that five
oh no.
minutes, Brandon,
Yeah.
you have to tell us the story
And
about
Brandon,
the
can I show the
floating head
picture?
dude.
What's
Are you
that?
cool? Can I show the picture of your floating head? Are you okay
Oh,
with
you
that?
have it?
Oh, you have
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
you
You
have
found
it.
it.
can wait, but don't do it until I cue you, and then
Okay.
I'll show
All
it.
right.
Show it after I tell the story, and I'll try
Okay.
Yeah,
to.
tell the
You
story.
got
This is a
5 minutes.
great story, everybody.
It's a
Yeah.
15-minute
Yeah.
story, but I'll make it short.
No. Yeah. Let's hear it, and then I'll
All
show
right.
it.
So I'm doing a tour. I used to do tours for the public, and what that means, it's not just a haunted tour. This is a grave site. This is this. No, you would come in and investigate with me. And this was I was part of a team, but I was the one who ran it all the time. And I'd have maybe anywhere from 8 to 24 people at a time. And this place was called Bootleggers Bar in Greenville, Wisconsin. If you know, you know. If you don't, now you do. So it was closed at the time. Believe it or not, this place is open right now, but I'll get to that. So we were doing it for the public investigation, and we were down in the basement. Down in this basement, they had a crematorium. This place was a funeral home at one time, and they cremated a lot of bodies down there. And right around the corner from that, there's this intersection, I call it, at the bottom of the stairs, where we all sat and we would do spirit box sessions. And we were doing an SB7 or SB11 spirit box session. Here's the SB11 in case anybody cares. Anybody wants to know what I'm talking about when I say SB11, it's this. Okay, you can get them on Amazon for like 180 bucks. Anyway, we were doing a session at the bottom of the stairs. I'm sitting there, I'm talking shit because it's kind of slow. I'm just trying to entertain everybody that's there because they paid to be there. So I'm talking and I'm trying to get a rise out of them, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, two girls across from me stand up, frantic, pointing at me, and they're saying, Brandon, Brandon, behind you, look behind you. I turned my head. I didn't even get halfway, and I saw something there. And I kind of did one of these, and I turned around. There was a floating head above me. No body, no nothing, a head. Now, let me explain this to you. When I saw it, it's slightly different than the picture, but it's similar. But when I saw it, it didn't look like the traditional transparent ghostly figure, ghostly head. It was like dripping. Like it was kind of gross looking. Um so by the time I looked back, some of the people that were near the stairs had already got out of their chairs and were running. They're running up the stairs. And I grabbed the last couple people that were there and I escorted them up the stairs fairly quickly, because I didn't want to address the head, with everybody there. I wanted to get everybody out before I went down and addressed that. Not that I knew exactly what I was going to do anyway, but we went outside, sat there for a little while till people calmed down. Some people left, of course, understandably.
Yes. The
we,
smart ones.
Now we went back in after about an hour. We went upstairs instead. So opposite of main floor, we were in the basement when that happened. We went upstairs. So there was a floor in between us. We're up there. And one girl, we're doing, I don't know, we're doing something. And the girl says, "Oh, I gotta check what time it is," because I make everybody turn their phones off. Okay, during this. So she's like, "Is it okay if I check my time?" I'm like, "Yeah." So she turns her phone on and she looks at it, drops her phone and screams. I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" Everybody's looking like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "Oh my God, oh my God." And it was one of the two girls that stood up and warned me, came over, ran over and showed this image on her phone of this
Is that my
thing.
cue?
And she says, "Yes." She says, "This is what we saw over your shoulder. Look." So go ahead and post it up. This is the picture that she showed me.
Give me 1 second. Let me get this.
I bet you those people got their money's worth.
Hell yeah, they did.
Hell yeah, they did.
All right.
You
So
know
this
it.
and so this is what you're seeing. Okay.
This is it right now.
Yep.
Brandon, can you see my cursor on here? I
Yes,
know
I
it's
can.
small. If you're, are these eyes here? Is
Yes.
this the hand right here?
Yes. Yes.
Dude,
So
fuck this.
so what you're seeing
Look at
is you're
this.
seeing
Look
him
at this,
standing
John.
here like this with his hand out like this. Like ta-da.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this.
He's
Look at
standing there.
this.
You can see his head, his shoulder right here,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
his arm, and his hand is kind of like, how do I put it here so that you can see me? His hand is like
Yeah,
this.
I can see it, dude. It's
You can
pretty
see the
clear.
thumb
That's
and
Yeah.
individual fingers.
And what's wild about this whole thing too, and I stress this in my live streams all the time. The bane of the paranormal is audio pareidolia and visual pareidolia. They're just two insane things. And one way you can tell that this is not visual is the detail, the
yeah.
hand, the shoulder, the everything about it is just there's just so much detail to it
You can see,
that
I mean, everything. The ear. You can
yeah,
even see the ear, the nose,
yeah,
Dude, this
everything.
is
it's great.
nuts.
So
It's
this
nuts,
is
bro.
what that head is
It's a good one.
very similar picture, a little bit
Yeah.
drippier, but that's what I saw on over my shoulder. Now tell me, her phone was off. Okay, get this. The picture was time stamped that it was taken at 11:04 when her phone was off and we were downstairs in the basement right before we came up.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's wild. That's wild. I mean, that's cool. I mean, it's just like
That's
truly
cool.
unexplained is wild,
That's
right?
cool.
I mean, that's like you
Yeah.
get something really great.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
thank you for Brandon. Thank you for letting us share that. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
it's cool, man. I mean, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that
And
we're all like. That's the kind of thing. I mean, look, I like to think like that's we're all trying to figure out what the hell that is,
I
right?
have been
Like
to that
what?
place several times after.
Now,
So
is it known?
Brandon,
Well, you said it's known for. Oh,
think
sorry.
that
Go ahead.
is? What do
I
you
think,
think that is?
well, originally, now that I've had years and years to think about it,
Hmm.
originally I thought it was a demon.
Okay.
Originally, first thought in my mind, but I think at the time, and I've grown since then. It's been 10 years. Um, I believe that it wasn't something that was intentionally trying to scare us. It was something that was just happened to be gross looking, but I don't think that's their fault. I think something happened to them that
Dude,
made
ugly
them
people in
gross.
life are not
Like
necessarily scary. They're just ugly. You can't
disfigured,
help it.
something
Yeah.
disfigured this poor soul, and it
Mm.
was looking to either possibly get help, possibly get some attention, possibly just to tell its story, saying, "Hey, something happened to me. I want you to know that I'm still around." Can you imagine, dying and then not going to heaven or whatever you believe, and you're stuck on earth and nobody can see you, nobody can talk to you, nobody can hear you, and then all of a sudden, years go by, and there's this one guy who can hear you? Can you imagine how overwhelming that must be to
Yeah.
them?
Exciting. And
You
and
know?
and that's the other thing too. What about, what if, that spirit is so excited and it manifested from that
Right.
excitement and it just
Right.
ended up looking like that. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Exactly.
Manifestations are
Exactly.
interesting. So
and
yeah,
that's
dude.
and that's where I think experience comes into play as far as understanding. And then you've got what we just talked about, and then you've got people that think they got demons in their house because their light flickers. Okay, so there's a whole
Yeah.
different
I know.
spectrum of
The D. Listen, I unblocked it, but for the longest time, I had the D word blocked in my
Yeah.
live stream because
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous
Right.
with the amount of everything is a demon.
Right.
No, there's no such thing as angry humans, let
Yeah,
alone
right.
angry
They're
spirits,
just
right?
they're just
We're all
asshole
just
ghosts.
happy.
That's right.
Yeah.
They were an asshole in life. They're an asshole in afterlife.
Oh, dude,
Exactly.
I just started this whole process, and I told John the other day I got my first like Jesus fan trying to convert me to stay away from demons on my
Mhm.
tweet. I was like, John, I did it. I've achieved. I've arrived. I got my
Yeah.
first. You know,
Yeah.
don't fall into the thing of
You
demons,
deal with them a lot,
which is
unfortunately.
It's a
which
damn
is
shame you guys are your podcast is so short. I think you should go longer.
we
I'd
can
love to
hang
sit
time. We
here.
got well. Listen, Brandon. Look, John. I got a couple minutes actually. If you can
Oh,
stay, or do you
we
have
can
to
go
jump?
on for another
We
five.
can go
I
for
have
another.
another 5 minutes,
Okay.
and then I gotta
Look,
unfortunately go.
Brandon, I don't have,
Yeah.
I got one
Well,
more thing that I'll
okay.
close out with, but I know you had some questions, Brandon. What did
Yeah.
you said you want to talk? Go for
Yeah.
it, dude. This has been really fun, by the way. I've had a
Yeah.
good
I think
time with you
so.
here. This is really great.
I think so. I love talking in depth. I was really afraid that I was going to come in and you guys are just going to be like, so what places have you been to? What
No,
the
no,
No,
not
no,
cookie
us.
cutter
I'm
bullshit.
no, dude. I'm not. Listen, I'm not interested in the Wikipedia version of
Right,
Brandon
right,
Kramer. I
Yeah.
want to know
right.
what I want to hear your
Fun.
perspective on it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what I want to. I'm trying to understand, and what this podcast is hopefully doing by talking to a variety of different people
Okay.
is what are spirits and what they look at, right? And we do these lives because I want to get more of this crowd, this influencer crowd,
Mhm.
from a different perspective for the
Right,
pre-recorded ones. And if we can do it, it
right.
feels very fun. And to keep it high and tight. But go
And
ahead, you take the show here. What
okay,
do you want to know?
real
What do you
quick,
want to ask John?
I just wanted to say that the reason that I think that I got so I was fortunate. I got on TikTok pretty close to right away before all of this. Now there's thousands and thousands of paranormal people on there. I got on. There were six
So
of us.
many.
There were
Uh,
six. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but what sets me and what I like to claim as a difference between me and everybody else is the one thing I like to do is when I believe in something, I try to go the extra mile to explain it to people as to why I think that way. I'm not just pushing what I say, make
yep.
you just believe me because I said it. No,
Yep.
I'm going to explain to you why I think that way and maybe shed some light on something like the whole nothing annoys me more than you see a paranormal investigator telling the spirit to go to the light.
I can't
Don't
stand that.
don't even don't
Oh,
even get me started because if the light was there, they would see it. They don't need
dude,
they don't
not
need you
just
to tell
that.
them. A
Not
bright
just
light, they're
that,
going to
man.
notice. They're going to
I
notice it.
turn
They're going to
around.
check it out.
I take it a step
Honestly,
further with them. I
there's
take
no
it a
light
step
there.
further. I straight up say, hey, what if that light is some sort of interdimensional entity that feeds off our human energy? Like you're gonna send little Sally Joe there?
Right,
You know,
right.
like, are you kidding me?
Well,
You know?
yeah, and that might be where my religious belief comes in to believe that that's probably not the case. But if it was, wow, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
so the whole there, I could talk for an hour about my icks of what people do during a
Oh,
paranormal.
dude,
Sure.
we could talk for
Oh
and
god,
they're very similar. We
I
have
claim
the
no negative energy. Go fuck
yo,
yourself.
yeah, that's the best.
Yeah, it's,
You know?
whatever. But
Yeah.
It's funny.
I get why they're doing it. I get it.
Yep,
Being
yep.
that I'm Catholic, but I get it. But you're just
Yeah,
drawing.
we were both raised Catholic as well. John and I were
You're
Yeah,
both
you're
yeah.
raised Catholic.
We're both raised Catholic.
We're probably more atheists now, but
you're
Yeah.
you're drawing attention unnecessarily to yourself
So
instead of the opposite. And you know what I mean? You're not helping
yeah.
yourself out when you put that comment in.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So, anyways, that being said, now back to some because John, goddamn it, I don't know what happened, but we used to be tight, man. I don't know what happened. I used to come to your lives all the time. You must have went through something and unfollowed everybody.
Everybody,
And
dude,
and,
do you want to
and
know
I'm
what I
like,
went
what the
through?
hell? What did I
Yo,
do? You know?
Yo, listen, it was nothing that anybody did. The problem is that these fake accounts that pop up and they claim to do tarot readings. They claim to do contact your loved ones.
Yeah.
Dude, you can, if you go on TikTok right now, search Santa Paranormal and click users, you will see 50 of them.
Oh, wow.
So one of the big things I did is I unfollowed everybody so I can just tell my people, hey, listen, this is before I had 1 million followers too. I was like, hey, guys, I follow no one and I will never message you. Do not fall for the scams. They're still doing it to this day, but it's now I'm following people because it didn't stop. It's been 2 years of it and it's just relentless. Yeah. It was like anybody did. I still like everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I see you poke your head into lives every once in a while. And I'm like, I always wonder every time. I'm like, John, what the hell did I ever do to piss you off?
Nah, you did nothing to me, man. You're good, yo. You're good.
So,
Dude, we started this podcast together. It took him a few months to finally follow it. I'm like, dude, can you please follow it? This is yours. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
So it's like it's not a personal.
And
he's still getting people. And Brandon, just so you know, I mean, look, he's still getting people that come in there and they look for the littlest thing. We're not on TikTok right now for a reason with this live because the things we talk about, someone will use against him to knock him off. And
to get me banned.
It
still happens.
He just got banned a couple weeks ago on TikTok for something of the spirit that always like calls people assholes, called me an asshole. Like it's in this one spot, has this one personality, and it said it, and someone said they were bullied.
Yep.
Really?
Not a joke. They complained.
Wow.
Knocked right off.
And I know I still remember, like, just to prove that I remember the whole meow thing. Okay.
Hell yeah, we still got the meow thing going.
Got that. Now, I always thought,
I'm a dog person.
Well, I'm a dog person too. I got 5 of them.
Yeah.
But I had no idea it was actually related to cats. If it is.
It is.
I totally thought it was just women being frisky in your life. I totally did not. Until like
you flatter me, Brandon.
Today.
You flatter me.
I thought that's what it was. Because all your people would come into my live and they would say, "Hey, meow, Brandon." I'm like, "Okay, you're from Santa, whatever."
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I always thought they were just being frisky with John. That's what I thought.
Brandon thought it was about pussy, and it's actually
I didn't say that.
That's funny though.
I didn't say
I'm
that.
not that good looking of a guy.
It's really about cats.
It's really about it. All right. So where it came from, just real quick, is every now and then at a ghost tube, you get the original ghost tube, not Vox. You get, it repeats the same shit over and over and over. And one phrase that's always said is make a noise, ooh. So I would say, whoop, whoop, welcome to Chili's, every time it said it, and it started off as a joke just so people would kind of ignore the same shit that's coming out all the time. Because again, going back to these spirit boxes, the digital spirit boxes, the apps, they have to be taken with a grain of salt. I say it all the damn time. Can't take every little sound, syllable, and word for something. Because, dude, it's insane. A spirit will say, I don't know, what's something. I'm trapped here. And then all of a sudden, people are coming up with scenarios of why the spirit's trapped. And it's like, for all we know, a spirit, got its foot caught on a root. You get what I'm saying? Like, it could be anything. So, but that's where that comes from, the whole meow club. So, yeah. That's funny, man. That's great, dude.
How I would think that, though, right?
Yeah, no, listen.
Of course.
It's logical thinking.
Of course, it's cooler that way.
That's funny,
I tried
man.
to give you credit, man. You should have just sucked that up and been like,
that's smart. He should have. He should have.
Yeah.
Listen,
and dude,
Brandon,
Brandon, another thing I want to touch on what you said real quick. Dude, isn't it insane how many people are now just out there, on not just TikTok, YouTube, everything. Dude, it's insane. It's like, I remember, think about it. When I came onto the scene, doing this for social media wise, I can remember you. Okay. I can remember Howie, RIP.
Yeah.
The very controversial Paranosis.
Right.
They
actually came quite a bit later, but yeah, they were earlier than all the big mass that came in.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And now all of a sudden it's just like everybody is just that's like my big regret with cemeteries, dude. Like, and I feel partially responsible. When I started doing those cemetery walks, I felt like Gizmo, like someone threw water on me and I fucking multiplied, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
insane, dude. And I mean, some of them were good, but others, it's just like, ugh.
Dude, did you see?
Like,
But totally
ugh.
off point. But we had Chris. You know, did you see Chris Netzel's video from a couple days ago?
Yeah,
I know,
Like, dude,
I know Chris, but I didn't see it.
yeah,
he puts this.
great video.
We had Chris on. It's a dude. It really looks like something's walking. It's not like a smoke or a thing. It looks walking.
Oh no,
And I know Chris
that
is
went
packing.
right by him. That
Oh, I
went
think-
I get
right
chills.
by him.
And
I think
know
I saw
Chris is
that on his
packing.
TikTok. I think I saw that on his
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it were me, I would have been like shooting and running at it
Right.
because I know
Right.
he's packing. He is because
Right.
it was a really good.
But and
catch.
I don't know.
He's a lot of fun.
I'm assuming Chris has been doing it for a while. I actually I don't know him really well, but I know him. And I like him.
He's a cool dude.
But
He's cool.
it goes to show like how numb we become to activity after a while. You know, when something big happens, sometimes it's not big to us anymore. Now because you keep looking for bigger and more and better and try to get so when a REM pod goes off or you know, heaven forbid, oh goddamn cat ball.
Cat
You know,
balls.
that excites a lot of people. Not me. It does nothing for me. You know.
Right.
But
Dude, you breathe on those cat balls the right way and they're going off.
yeah.
You know, and they're so, dude, I stopped using cat balls after I bought like a bulk of 100 and none of them worked. They all came defective. And I'm like, this is not, I'm done with these, you know, like it's,
I look, you know,
cat balls are
just
one of those things that are, what's the best word for it?
garbage.
Pseudo evidence, if you will. I mean, is that the best way to say it? It's like,
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Look, the thing I value the most as someone who's new to all this, honestly, is, and John, I've said this to you 100 times, is personality. When he's getting words and phrases that are not, there's not only a clear call and response several times with specific information, things that are not generic, right? But there's a personality to it.
yeah.
There's a tone of voice. The words used are that I find really wild. Like that's what I watch for what he does.
Right.
But look, now I do have to call it a day. Brandon, this was a lot of fun. I hope you had fun.
I did.
You know,
Yo, thank you. Brandon, thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
So many more.
Yeah.
We're just getting started here. We have there's so many other things. I have a lot of questions I didn't even get to. So which is only good because we want to keep the people wanting more and we want to have you back. So that's really the reason for it.
There you go.
So I really thank you. I really thank you for your time and taking the time to do it.
Hopefully, maybe some of your people will follow me over on TikTok and they'll get to see more.
Yeah,
guys,
cool.
follow Brandon.
Real Ghost Hunter 1.
He has an auction every Friday.
Every Friday.
Right? And he's going to start that on Real Ghost Hunter 1.0. And Brandon is a co-host of a podcast of his own with another paranormal investigator, Ray Wright of Nebraska Paranormal. It's called Paranormal Watchtower.
Yes.
That's Paranormal Watchtower on YouTube. It's a great title, by the way. And it's you know, they oversee a lot of various people and evidence, and they talk about it, you know, from
we talk about everything
sort of experience, you know,
So
traditional stuff. But that's another. This is a great guy. We're really glad, a really great paranormal influencer with a lot of experience and a lot of fun and a lot of things to talk about. Brandon, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, man. Thank you for doing this. Awesome, dude. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Brandon. See ya.
All right. See you.
All right. Wrap it up.
Awesome.
Now I gotta go too.
Yep, I gotta call
I gotta
it.
bounce.
I tell you, guys, this is a good one. It's fun. It was fun, right?
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
cool dude.
He's got that head photo is creepy as hell too.
Dude, it's such a good story too. I remember him telling me that years ago. He must have told me that like 3 years ago, that story. And I was just like, oh, that's, you know, it's unique, it's awesome, it's it stuck with me. Like, oh, it's floating good. Head, ooh-wee, you know?
Yeah, it's nuts. Everybody, thank you so much for
thank you guys
being
for
here with us
and being here.
We appreciate it. This has been
thank you.
Splintered Spirits. I don't know why my music's not playing. Come on, there we go. There's our little theme closer.
There's the little theme.
There's a little podcast theme. Well, it was there, now it's gone.
Yeah.
Now it's back. Things are a little slow. Everything's on a little bit of a delay, but it's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, mostly ladies, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much
Sorry
for
we didn't
being
get
here.
to all your questions, Well, we were in it, man. We were in it with Brandon. We couldn't get to all the questions. And read the,
lot going on.
Oh, looking at the chat now, a lot of people reminding us how married they are, as if they don't fantasize about us regularly. You liars!
Yeah, right?
You know you love us.
Or do you fantasize about spirits? They might fantasize about spirits.
That's probably true.
You know.
And Brandon just jumped into the chat, and there he is on YouTube. Brandon Kramer, everyone, the Real Ghost Hunter 1. Really fun time. Everybody, thank you so much. John, I'll talk to you later.
Gary, talk to you soon.
Yeah,
later,
don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Splintered Spirits. Follow.
Oh, wait.